Welcome to the Behind the Board on production techniques, where we're going to talk about vocals. So producing vocals is probably the most difficult part. It's something that takes a lot of time, and the singer can't keep singing forever. It's not like other instruments. You could keep on playing guitar. You could play guitar for 9, 10 hours straight. You might have some finger pain, but you try to sing that long, it's just not going to happen. Your voice will become very hoarse. It just won't happen. So you spend a lot of time with the vocalist. It's probably in over several days. If you're doing, say, 5, 6 songs, he'll probably come back at least twice for that. Let's take a look at what we like to do with vocalists and how we like to build songs around what they're doing. So in this song, during the intro, and this is one of the reasons we got away with going hi-hat to hi-hat in the intro to the verse on drums, is we doubled up the guitars like we said, but we also brought in a lead part, and it's just a lead vocal, but not really saying much. It's a nice soulful vocal approach. Just take a quick look at this. It's acting as a lead guitar. So it's drawing us in, we're getting the feel for the song, fantastic, it's doing what we want it to be doing. And then we're going to drop to a verse, and we want the vocal to stand up on top, so we did drop those guitars down, so let's take a listen how that feels.
I guess I should have tried a little bit harder.
Perfect, so that's what we want to do. When we drop into a verse, in order to make this more audible, I like to take one of the guitars out that I doubled up, something like that. Then we'll move over halfway through the verse. We got our build on guitar. It shouldn't get into the way of this. If we had the solo type of guitar thing, that might get in the way. You don't want two things singing. So make sure you remember that. You don't want two things singing unless that really is their style. Generally, it's very hard for the listener to focus on both of them. So we went ahead and just did these breaks, and that worked out pretty well. So it doesn't take over the vocal much, and it works well for us. Now, we went over to the pre-chorus, and I wanted that to sound real sweet, and so did the band. So we wanted to add in some background vocals, and when we have that long, held-out chord. And that's exactly what we did. So everything got lower, and the vocals actually got sweeter. So when I do background vocals, in order to really make it sound big, wide, and pretty, I like to go ahead and pan them hard, pan them real hard, 100% each way. If you take a look at what's going on background vocal wise, 100% here, 100% here, one to the left, one to the right. You have to make sure that these background vocals are very onto each other, because otherwise it will sound terrible. So the singer has to hit it pretty much the same exact way twice, or you could use Melodyne, or even something like a vocal line. That's a plugin that you could go pick up. I would suggest if you do, you get a vocal line, get like the simple version, not their pro version, because that's for movies when they sync up stuff they did vocally in the studio to stuff they did live, and it's just it's a great tool, but it's too much. It's a little too powerful. You're spending money for no reason there. So otherwise, you can actually go in here and zoom in, and if you went through all that stuff that we had on Elastic Audio, you could change this into an Elastic Audio. It would be a monophonic. There's only one tone coming out at a time, and you could stretch it and shorten it in order to fit exactly with that, just by matching up the waveforms and looking back and making sure that it's pretty matched up. So for this pre-chorus, we went ahead and did a background vocal, panned real hard, made sure that the vocals were tight to each other and tight to the lead. So let's take a listen to that section and see how it develops. Great. So that's what we want to do with background vocals generally. I love doubling them, and I love splitting them out. I think it sounds very pretty. Of course, you could find your own way of doing it. You could go ahead and do a single background vocal, especially if you have a band that switches vocalist back and forth quite a bit. You might want to just give them each their own vocal track, just one of it, so it doesn't dilute one singer like this would. This kind of dilutes the background singer. Make sure he's background because he's panned out hard. He's not up the middle. Makes him more backgroundish. So next we'll go over to the chorus. There's quite a few ways to do it. You could go ahead and do a chorus with just one vocal. I like to use two, and I duck my second one down hard, but it does lift up my first one. So if I just soloed these out together, you'll hear that, you could kind of hear there's two of them like this.
I won't play this tired game.
You kind of hear that there are two vocals there. But when we go ahead and play it with the song, you won't notice that there's two vocals.
I won't play this tired game.
But that second vocal is good support for the first vocal. It lifts it up a little bit more, and that'll help you out when you get to your mixing and you do all of the compression and the fun stuff and with your inserts. But that's the way I like to do it. There's several ways to do it. You could just have one vocal. It'll work. It'll absolutely work. I do it pretty often. And another way of doing this, which is a pretty cool sound, not a huge fan of it, but it's a pretty cool sound, is take these pans on these chorus vox, take this one to the left, maybe around 30, and take this one to the right, maybe around 30. This is a big method for pop vocals. If you're doing a record with an artist who's looking to do straight pop type stuff, you might triple the chorus, have one go to the right 30, one to the left 30, and one up the middle. Some records, these really super pop stuff, I've been told that they've been quadrupled, called quadded, quad the vocal, and that's just splitting it. Of course, two are going to be left and right around maybe 15, and then two will be left and right a little further than that, maybe around 45 or something. And you can figure out your pans by what sounds best. That's the only rule. Does it sound good? But take a listen to what this sounds like. I'll match these right at 0, and you'll see what this feels like. We'll solo it out first.
I won't play this tired game.
So that sounds pretty big, and when you put it in the mix, you get something like this.
I won't play this tired game. I am not.
So it's a pretty cool way of doing it. Not a huge fan for like rock and stuff, like especially indie rock. But if you're doing some pop stuff, this is kind of the sound they're looking for. They're looking for it to be really, really big and wide, and doubling up the vocals is the way to do that. That's why those pop records are tripled. They put one up the middle, they raise the volume of that one over the other two, so the other two act as support, just like we did with the background vocals acting as support for the main. They're not up in your face like we have it right now. But they're there, and they widen the vocal, they lift the vocal, and they make it sound good. All right, so thanks for being with me on this one, and I hope you're back for the next one.